Today, New Zealand home prices take another bashing. Well, again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics from Latest Post, covering finance and properties with a distinctively Australian flavour. Well, the REINZ released their November data yesterday, and they showed that rising interest rates, access to finance and concerns around the economy have created uncertainty in the market. Across New Zealand, they say market activity through spring has been subdued and median prices continue to soften as buyers remain hesitant. That's according to the latest data and insights from the REINZ. They said the number of residential property sales across New Zealand decreased annually by 36.1% from 8,644 in November 2021 to 5,525 in November 2022. And month on month, there was an increase, though, of 7.7%. The sales count for New Zealand, excluding Auckland, decreased by 31.7% annually from 5,462 to 3,728. Sales activity was up 5.6% compared to October 2020, and sales counts in all regions declined compared to November 2021. All had a double-digit percentage drop. The West Coast was the only region to see a decrease of less than 20%, down 15 actually, from 40 to 34. And 3 regions saw a decrease in October 2022. Gisborne down 10.5%, Wellington down 8.4%, and Taranaki down 1.6%. The regions with the greatest annual percentage decrease was Gisborne, which decreased 45.2% annually from 62 to 34, Auckland, which decreased 43.5% annually from 3,182 to 1,797. And Wellington decreased 36.2% annually from 870 to 555. Jen Baird, the chief executive of REINZ, said, when looking at November figures, we're comparing to a market at its peak with one that has just moderated over the past 12 months. In a recent survey of REINZ membership conducted with economist Tony Alexander, real estate professionals reported the top concerns of buyers in the market are high interest rates, access to finance and purchasing, and seeing prices soften. Add to these concerns of recession, global economic and geopolitical uncertainty. In late November, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand raised the official cash rate by a record 75 basis points to 4.25%, and the central bank also forecast a peak of 5.5% next year and predicts a further rise in inflation. The immediate effect on the real estate market was more hesitancy. Buyers are again weighing up the likely impact on mortgage rates, with current downward pressure on property prices. Those thinking of selling are again looking at the market and asking, is this the right time, they said. For many, it is the right time. In November, people continue to transact, 5,525, according to our sales count, Baird says. Across New Zealand, the median price of residential property, excluding sections, decreased 12.4% annually from $925,000 in November 21 to $810,000 in November 2022. Month on month, it actually represents a 1.2% decrease from $820,000 in October. The median residential property price for New Zealand, excluding Auckland, decreased 7.1% from $770,000 to $715,000, and there was a month-on-month decrease of 1.4% from $725,000 in October. 14 of 16 regions had negative annual median price movements last month. There were 12. This is the first time since January 2009 that 14 or more regions recorded negative annual median price movement. 6 regions reported negative monthly movements. West Coast achieved a record median price, up 20% annually from $350,000 to $420,000, and while Southland reached an equal high, it last reached that same figure in February 2022, up 10.5% annually to $425,000. Auckland saw the greatest median price decrease, down 18.1% compared to November last year, from a record $1.3 million to $1,065,000. All 7 Auckland districts had negative movements. In Wellington, the median price was down 17.4% annually from $962,500 to $795,000 in November. 6 of the 8 territorial authorities in the region three TAs achieved record median prices. In the West Coast, the Buller district reached a median price record of $420,000, while in Southland, the Gore district and Invercargill City reached record median at $435,000 and $485,000 respectively. While property prices have softened and agents report hesitancy among buyers, we see indications sentiment is shifting, they said. Agents around the country say sellers are realistic. They are meeting the market. They are entering negotiations. The most sought-after properties are well presented and well marketed. If you can make the finances work, this is a good time to be a buyer. Firstly, there is significantly more stock on the market. At the end of November, there were 28,449 properties available for sale across New Zealand. That's an annual increase of 47.7%. Secondly, the market is less competitive. While owner-occupiers remain a strong presence, investors have largely stepped back for now. Thirdly, we have seen prices come down 12.4% since their peak last November. Affordability will remain an influencing factor, but for those previously sidelined in last year's quick-paced market, now, they said, is a great time to take another look at what's out there. The impact of increasing interest rates on mortgage serviceability will put pressure on people, but rates are likely to peak in 2023 and start to fall again. Ever hopeful, of course. The REINZ House Price Index, the HPI for New Zealand, which measures the changing value of residential property nationwide, showed an annual decrease of 13.7% from 4,276 in November 21 to 3,692 in November 2022. New Zealand saw a 1.4% decrease in terms of month-on-month HPI. For New Zealand, excluding Auckland, the HPI decreased 10.2% annually from 4,279 in November 21 to 3,842 in November 2022. In fact, all regions saw an annual decrease in the HPI movement, down 2.2% annually. Southland was the top-ranking region on the index in November, followed by Otago, down 3.4%, and Taranaki, down 3.8%. In November, Wellington again had the greatest percentage decrease in the value of residential property, down 19.5% annually on the REINZ HPI. The region has ranked bottom of the index for 12 consecutive months. However, we are seeing some positive indicators, they said. When we look at HPI movements over the past 3 months, Wellington is the 6th best performance by falling only 2.1%, suggesting, they say, the intensity of downward pressure on property values is easing in the region. Well, of course, they will grab at whatever straws they can. Auckland had the second greatest decrease in HPI movement, with an annual decrease on the index of 18.4%. Across New Zealand, the median days to sell the DTS, a property in November, was 41. That's up 12 days compared to November 2021's hyperactive market, and selling 3 days faster than last month. For New Zealand, excluding Auckland, DTS increased 12 days to 41, though down 3 days compared to October. Southland had the lowest DTS of all regions at 30, an annual increase of 3 days. Northland and Hawke's Bay had the highest median DTS at 54. Median days to sell remain elevated, though down on last month, in part due to transactions taking longer to execute, with more sales subject to finance or sale. However, real estate professionals also note buyer hesitancy as they weigh out mortgage rates and the gamble of prices softening post-purchase. Nationally, listings were down 26% annually to 10,185. New Zealand, excluding Auckland, saw an annual decrease of 16.1%. Except for Marlborough, where there was no change, all regions saw listings decrease compared to November 21, with 5 seeing decreases of 20% or more. Auckland had the greatest decrease in listings, down 39.8%, followed by Gisborne, down 32.9%, Wellington down 24.7%, and Northland down 21.5%. At the end of November, the total number of properties available for sale across New Zealand was 28,449. That's an annual increase of 47.7%, up from the 19,260 in November 21. For New Zealand, excluding Auckland, it was 17,579. That's an annual increase of 64.9% from 10,661. While 2/3 of all regions have an annual increase in inventory of at least 50%, only Nelson recorded an increase of over 100% compared to last November. And in October, 5 regions had an annual increase over 100%. In line with seasonal expectations, we have seen listings climb since the start of spring. November saw 10,185 new listings. However, this is an annual decrease of 26%. At the same time, there was an annual increase in the number of properties available for sale of 47.7%, sitting at 28,449 at month's end. And they said, with decreasing demand and more supply on the market, able buyers have the luxury of choice and time to make informed purchasing decisions. And so far as auction is concerned, there was a seasonal uptick in the auction numbers. Nationally, 14.7% of properties, or 812, were sold at auction in November, compared to 32.1% in 2021. And New Zealand, excluding Auckland, saw 10.6% of properties, 388, sell by auction, compared to 15.6% the year prior. Auctions represented 35.3% of sales in Gisborne, just 12, down from 58.1% in November. And in Auckland, 23.6% of sales were by auction, 424, compared to 51.4% at the same time last year. And the REINZ said, while the percentage of properties sold at auction remains low compared to the heights achieved through 21, we are seeing an uptick in the data. In August 2022, 9% of properties were sold by auction across New Zealand. In November, that figure sat at 14.7%. Rather than getting closer to a floor, the present housing market downturn may be increasing in pace, though, the report warned. Salespeople in some regions, such as Gisborne and Central Otago, reported that auctions performed well. That said, compared to November last year, we've seen a significant drop in sales by auction. The potential for further increases in the OCR and concern around the impact on mortgage rates has caused hesitancy across the market, including in auction attendance. Anecdotally, there has been an increase in the number of sales subject to financial sale, resulting in an increase in other sales methods. And I should also add that in passing, in an economic note on the latest REINZ figures, ASB's economist said this is not a market to turn around, and increased their forecast of how much the national selling price might fall from last year's peak to 25%. The New Zealand housing market looks to be continuing to deaccelerate based on data from the REINZ, the report said. On a seasonally adjusted basis, the REINZ house price indices have eased for a 12th consecutive month on the trot as of November. What's more, last month's 1.9% month-on-month fall was the biggest monthly fall in house prices since December 2000. So despite all of the Weasley words from the REINZ, the truth is prices probably will continue to fall as interest rates continue to rise, and that means that probably more people are going to lose their shirt. We'll see. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.